Good morning, guys, and good evening for us here in Uganda. I'm glad to have you today. I welcome you to the Civic Space TV. My name is Lynn Komugisha. I know most of you we are meeting for the first time, and I'm glad you're joining us today. It's a very interesting day. It's one of the first where we get to get off the usual and talk about sports. And for me, this is very exciting. Very glad to have you. And today we are looking at the Uganda lacrosse team. And we know that they're headed for the Men's Lacrosse World Cup Championship that will be in the US. Gentlemen, I'm very glad to have you today. And as we start our conversation, I want to first give you gentlemen some time to introduce yourselves. And most importantly, for is Patrick here? Patrick Oriana, are you around?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Fantastic. I will need you to introduce to us your team, but also tell us more about lacrosse, because this is interestingly, I think I do find it in the media, in the news, but I never pay attention. So I did try and look out for it. I would love for you to take us through a little bit, introduce your team, then tell us more about the Uganda lacrosse team.
Okay, thank you very much, Lynn. My name is Patrick Oriana. I'm from Soroti, the eastern part of the country. I've been a player with Uganda lacrosse, I think, for the last 10 years or so. I've had the opportunity to represent the team as a player in 2014 and in 2018, and also last year as the head coach of the under-21 men's team that competed in Ireland. So for me, it's a mix of both experiences as a player and as a coach. But I mean, just to introduce whoever is on the call, I think they'll probably later introduce themselves. But we have Peter. Peter is on the call. Peter is our team, one of the team captains. Then we have, I think, Ryan and Melanie as well that are on call. They're the ones pushing the fundraising, currently. They're doing the best that they can. So I'm really excited for, first of all, to be on this call, but also really excited that Brian is pushing it for us. So I'm excited to be on the call.
Hey, all right. Thank you very much, Patrick, for that. Now, quickly, let me first tell us. I was asking. I think that's the part you missed, but maybe for the purposes of our viewers getting acquainted with us. Lacrosse is one of those interesting games, and interestingly, it is famous in US and Europe. I'm not sure how famous it is in Uganda. It's something we're still trying, I think, but it's been here for a while. In Uganda, the sport was introduced in 2009 by American lacrosse coach Kevin Dugan and Maurice Serunkuma, working with Fields of Growth. Then in 2011, the sports was boosted with a donation by Notre Dame University in the US. Now, there's a Uganda Lacrosse Association. It is the body mandated to promote the sport of lacrosse in Uganda, registered with the National Council of Sports, and is affiliated internationally to World Lacrosse USA. And very interesting details I landed on. So Patrick, Brian, and especially Peter Shaban, Peter, a player, I'd like for you to give us, how has the journey been so far? I mean, it has been in 2009. How have things been? Who can take us through that? Peter or Brian?
I think Peter or Pato. That's okay. Patrick. Coach Patrick would be best positioned because Patrick has been with the team since.
But before you go, Brian, what do you do? I'm asking you, Brian, what are you in the lacrosse team? How do you take part?
So my role really is to help push the fundraising for this particular fundraising campaign. to be able to raise funds so the team can be able to travel to the US. The immediate goal is for them to travel to San Diego in June. So the games I think are going to be played between June 20th and July 1st. So that is really my role in terms of helping push this within the Ugandan community in North America, help raise funds and awareness of the game, and then kind of go from there. In terms of the history, in addition to what you've just I think read, Coach Patrick would be, I think, best positioned. All I can say is Uganda is the only African team that has ever played in a World Lacrosse Championship. They first played in Denver in 2014, and then again 4 years later in Israel, in Netanya, Israel in 2018, and this would be the third time. The previous 2 times they were unopposed because there was no other African team that was competing, so they automatically qualified. This time around, they got some friendly challenge from our neighbors in Kenya, and they triumphed by 1 point. So they are truly the best in Africa, even with competition.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's lovely to know. That's good to know. We'll definitely get to that. Aloysius iPhone, please could you unmute and tell us who you are?
Hi. Yeah, this is Aloysius Bingi. I'm actually a friend to Brian, and I live in Washington DC. So, I mean, when we first actually got that call for fundraising, because my daughter plays lacrosse at the high school, and I got interested. But one thing the question that keeps coming, and I really feel like this group will be able to digest it, is the team Lacrosse Uganda, like any other sports teams in Uganda, and now you've just said they are affiliated to Uganda National Council of Sports and blah, 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 and looks like they are really doing well in the field of sports. So why are we fundraising, yet we have the country that can actually be able, like they support football teams, I mean soccer teams, whatever, rugby and other teams, athletics. So why is the lacrosse team left fend for themselves? I think if someone answers that question, it will become much easier for us, even as we're trying to spread the word for fundraising. Thank you.
Right. So I can address that. So,
all right, Brian, go ahead.
So I think what many people don't know or don't realize is they only see once the Ugandan teams are playing on the national stage, they don't know how they get there, where they get the funds from, and that kind of stuff. The fact of the matter, the truth of the matter is that Uganda does not fully fund its sports teams. Even the most popular football through FIFA. Uganda doesn't give 100% of the money that is needed to take these teams to the tournament, African Cup of whatever nations and that kind of stuff. They don't. They do fund some of their budgets through the National Council of Sports, but it does not cover 100% of the cost. Obviously, if there's a table I can share with Miriam, I don't know if she can put it on the screen after I share it with her, but it shows how much money goes to different associations. Football association, basketball association, baseball. Obviously, as expected, football is on top. I think the last year that I have was 2021. I think they got 800 million Uganda shillings. And then lacrosse is there. It's number 18. It's got 20 million Uganda shillings. Now, if you convert 20 million Uganda shillings to US dollars, comes down to, I don't know who can do some quick math there, but it's not, it's certainly not, it's I think it's actually, I'll send the chat. But so when you convert Uganda dollars, it's nothing near what is expected for them to travel these international tournaments. So even FUFA, even the Uganda Cranes, the national football team, they actually have an ongoing campaign called Akaboka Cranes that they do. But because football is very popular in Uganda, this is something people can raise within the Ugandan society, on a very local level, and they quickly raise the funds. Because it's a very popular sport. And they, of course, they get a lot of donations as well from Ugandan corporate sponsors. Now, lacrosse is a new sport in Uganda. not only is it new, but many Ugandans, they have never heard of the game. So it's not as easy for us to be able to, number one, fundraise money the way Uganda Cranes does. But so the answer, Aloysius, to your question is, I think Aloysius actually dropped off, but no, he's on. So the answer to your question is, Uganda doesn't fully fund any sport. So and then I think what I tell people is, I think if they followed the netball team's journey when they went to Australia and their clips were trending, even when the netball team traveled, I think the government sponsorship came in very, very last minute. So I'm not sure if that was even enough to cover everything. But so in a situation like us, where now we have to, there's a process of getting the US visas and all that kind of stuff, you really don't have the luxury of time of waiting for the Uganda government to come in last minute. Because even if they do come in last minute, if they get interested, if you guys make enough noise and enough political noise, maybe we can intimidate them into sponsoring. But even if they do come in last minute, it won't be the whole amount. And by then, it will be too late for some of the logistics. So, yeah, I hope, Aloysius, that answered your question.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Brian, for that. And we're sharing the screen here. I can actually see that the Uganda lacrosse team got about 75 million.
Right. So I said 20. So yeah. So what actually it is, it's 75 million Uganda shillings and then $20,000.
Yeah.
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 And then you can see, we are trying, when you see the budget of what we are trying to raise, we are trying to raise about 150,000. So 20,000, 150,000. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going. We'll come back to the dynamics of how this budget is shared. Melanie and Ryan Cronin, good morning to you. It is a good evening this side. Please unmute and speak to us. Tell us how you're interested in Lacrosse Uganda and what your role is.
Good evening, and yes, good morning for us. I just wanted to kind of speak to what Brian was saying, and one of the most important things is for us right now is timeline, and there's a strong sense of urgency in terms of fundraising. So Ryan and I are both involved on the fundraising side and also on some logistics. Thankfully, building a great relationship with Coach Pato and the team. And in order to secure visas, we have to have a large chunk of money in the bank so that when we go to do the application, you know, they need to see that for part of the process. So like Brian was saying, even if there was, support within, which we do expect some support within the government, we still do have, that's a longer timeline. So there's an urgency of, really within the next several weeks of raising a substantial amount of money so that we can go in with confidence to apply for the visas. I know that the team is putting in long hours of practice and, they're doing all the work that they need to do on the field in order to get themselves there. But unless we rally the support behind them and raise the funds, all of their efforts will go, uncelebrated. Yeah. And I think it's also really important to recognize, which you sort of have both spoken to at this point, but you did ask what's the game of lacrosse. And I think also, in trying to gain support, if people don't know what it is, that's very difficult. And to be really transparent, I'm not the one to speak to the game personally. There are a lot of other people on this call that would do a better job to that. But I think it is important for that to be communicated here today and then recognize that Uganda has made huge accomplishments, and the sport of lacrosse is growing across the continent of Africa. This is, as Brian said, they had gone in the past to different championships, but never challenged. This is the first time that they won a playoff game. And so I think that when we look at the team itself, it's important to build it behind them, but also from a pulled back perspective, this is something that Africa is going to be represented on the world stage. There are 30 teams from around the world, and it's really, they deserve to be there. You know, the Uganda team deserves to be there, and really needs to be represented. So this is a bigger moment. This is almost a time in history. So I just wanted to speak to the urgency of fundraising, and the importance to really show up on that world stage.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melanie, for that. Peter, I need you to unmute and speak to us. Now, first of all, tell us a little bit about the game, but also tell us why. Why did you choose lacrosse? I mean, it is less popular. Why did you choose lacrosse? Let's get into that. Peter, please. Let's ask Coach Patol. Coach Patol, I need you to paint a picture for me. I have no idea what lacrosse is all about. What do you do?
Hello.
How do you go about
Good evening. Good morning.
Yes, please. Then Pato, you can take us through. Just paint a picture of what lacrosse is all about. Because as you say, I think you're the first team in Africa. We might have another team, but I think you're one of the first major teams in Africa. Paint a picture for us. Let us know what lacrosse is all about.
Lacrosse, I hope I do a good job with that. Lacrosse is right now it's a sport, but lacrosse has a very rich history. It is originally a Native American game, and they call it a medicine game. They believed the game was given to them by their creator, to bring about healing in individuals and in communities. So for them, it was almost like the way for us, it's circumcision. For some cultures, that is the initiation. For them, when a child was born, a child was given a stick, and they grew up playing the game. And also, if communities had conflicts, the two communities that had conflicts used the game to settle whatever conflict that was on. The team the community that won eventually almost settled whatever conflict that was there. But I think fast forward, it was later picked up by I want to believe the French missionaries. Maybe Ryan will correct me on that one. Who adopted it, and I think later it turned into a sport. So, but I mean, there's also a unique story that I saw in a documentary that during the World War, even when people were fighting, the natives continued to play the game. You know, so for us, it's something we usually talk about with the players, especially when we're handling conflicts between ourselves. Like, putting the game down is not a solution, because if the natives chose not to play the game during war, we probably wouldn't have this opportunity to play the sport. So even though our understanding of the true heritage of the game would probably change the way we play and the way we continue to interact with people around us, I believe lacrosse is probably one of the oldest games out there. Even though Uganda, this might be the 13th year, and Lynn, you had your history like very on point. You know, I don't know where you got the information from, but that's how the game was introduced here. I was a student at Makerere University Business School at the time. It was my last year. I was playing rugby then, but the sport was introduced to already existing athletes, and I mean, it came to us playing rugby. So we just started to try out the sport. A year later, we had our first coaches. We just continued to learn about the sport, and then there was an opportunity for us to represent the country in 2014. And personally, I was like, maybe this is a good chance for me. You know, anyone would want to really represent their country at any given level. So I mean, we took on the sport. One thing just led to the other. You know, one opportunity after the other. But also, like Brian said, like, there are challenges, especially with the development part of the sport. And I like the way he actually put it up. Like, people see national teams competing, but they actually don't know the story behind how they get there, especially the effort. So for me, even when a team loses, nobody sees the effort. But if people saw the effort, they would actually celebrate these teams and these athletes, even though they didn't get the results that they wanted, you know? So for me, I honestly believe, I think, like they say, it takes a whole community to raise a child. I think it's the same thing for sport. families have to support their children, whether it is schools, the entire community to support them. But also, you mentioned the issue of funding from the government. Almost, I think, 95% of any sport is really preparation. Competition is just 5%. So if we, even if we travel to the games, we're only going to spend 10 days. But we have been putting in the work since, for as long as I remember. One thing has just led to the other. It's a development phase, but that usually comes with challenges. And we've been blessed to have, even amidst all those challenges, we've been blessed to have opportunities among them. An example is a gym that was open to us to be able to use it. But also the unique thing about it is when I interacted with the owners of the gym is they have extended this opportunity to other sports organizations, other sports federations, but they still have the same challenges, whether it is to consistently get the athletes, either because of less athlete support, facilitation, and things like that. And all those are things that play out on how a team performs eventually. So like Melanie said, it's really, for us, it's a time of deadline. We all know applying for American visas, not even applying, getting a visa to the US is one of the most difficult things, even just the thought of it. So someone would rather choose to do something else other than do that. But because we have done it before, there's that hope that we can. But also because that we usually don't like talking about, because we also have a girls team that was not able to travel, we also know of the reality. Okay. And we're using that as a way to control the things that we can control, but we are definitely aware that there are those challenges. But again, for us now, it is how do we make the experience more meaningful now, so that no matter what happens in the future, like we know it was worth it. Okay. And I think Melanie and Ryan will agree with me is one of the things we've been talking about for a very long time is how do we support these athletes both on and off the field. These athletes that come to the field represent the challenges in different communities, whether it is work related, education related. And the beauty about it is everyone on the support staff and coaches understand and actually see this need. So for me, I feel blessed to have been a player with the team. I've seen those challenges as a player, but also recently I've seen them as a coach. So usually when I raise something, I've lived it. It's not like I'm saying it because I've had a player is struggling. I've had the same struggles, but how do we creatively solve these problems moving forward?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Coach Pato, for that. And I think we'll come back to the issue of the challenges we encounter. First of all, as a sport, as a sport, but also as the entire National Council of Sports. We'll come to that. Now, Miriam, I'm very curious. How are you interested in this sport? And what, so far, of what you know, what do you think the viewer out there ought to know about this sport?
Like the previous speakers have said, lacrosse is very common in America, but it's a new game in Africa. But it's a social game. It's a game that unites people, and like they said, it's something which is like all games. It builds discipline, especially in young people. It even gives opportunity for players who are skilled to compete and even make it a career, like all other games, like football, like netball, basketball. But lacrosse is new in Uganda. So when I saw them actually that they qualified for World Cup, I uploaded them, and it's really a big achievement. It's unusual to see a new game. Someone is playing a new game, but qualifying for international competition is not easy. So, and even given the resources, the way we see, if Brian is very busy with a basket and fundraising for these guys to be able to compete in a world championship, that they don't have the funds. Even the screenshot we shared, you see how much of the budget of the National Sports Council the game takes. That shows even the training, the whole thing of building the team and equipment. We know all that much that goes into the sport has been a struggle all along. But to see them achieving all that much, I feel for me something great to applaud them, and we want to cheer the players. You are doing it for yourselves, but you are doing it for our country despite the challenges, and that's so great. And you should have a pat on the back for that. But our duty as Ugandan citizens really is to interrogate the issues that concern us as a country. We all know Uganda is a very useful nation, meaning that the average or the majority of the population is really like under 30, is very athletic, is young, and should be benefiting from such a sport. But if you see the attention the country is giving to it, is almost non-existent. And as Brian said, it's not only the lacrosse team that is suffering, it's even the netball, even the football. I don't know how much a Ugandan player, even in football, which is the most common game in Uganda, I don't know how much they get paid per month. I don't know if they even get enough to sustain them as they are busy training. There was one time, I think this is an embarrassing moment, but I would share it. We were sharing a hotel with the players when they were training, and they could barely get enough food. You know, when you are in sports, you need to eat a lot. You use a lot of energy. So there is a particular type of diet you should be on. But these people, we had a conference and we had extra food around, and we invited them over to share a meal with them. They said, this is the first time we are getting, like something worth called a meal for an athlete in the old time we've been in this camp training. And this was football. So when I see the budget of the lacrosse team, then I wonder, do these people even eat? Do they get fed? Where do you get the training equipment? Do they have all that it takes? Because every team, you need the stadia, you need the gyms, you need all that much. How have you been surviving with so little? But then again, if you look at the achievement, I think this is worth supporting. But Brian, we need to call upon our country to do much better. We can do much better. We see all that much money that is being thrown around. Even for one single MP could be getting annual funding from the government more than the national team.
That's true.
And that shows where our priorities are. What are our priorities as a country? Imagine if this game was sponsored and could go down to every primary school, to every secondary school, to every sub-county where other children are there and they have nothing to play, they have no sport to engage in. And if we are even producing professional players to be careers to be shared across the world, where they can be hired and be playing for different teams across the world, like we see football players. Imagine how much income this game could generate for the country. So it's not even about supporting it as a national core, but it's a form of an investment for the country. Imagine if this World Championship was held in Uganda. But today, even if we have an opportunity to vie for that, do we even have the stadia? Do we have the venues to even to host that? Do we even have the capacity? So all this much, like, how can we even have an opportunity to do so much but throw it away simply because our leadership is not focused in the right direction? And then how do we make them see this? For me, that's what I feel is a call upon all of us. How do we make them to realize that this is something worth investing in, and they should be doing that yesterday?
Wow. Well, indeed, yes, Miriam, that's very true, because we have lots of sportsmen and ladies, and every other time they're struggling. The stories are very disturbing. The stories are very heartbreaking. And you, at the end of the day, when a team qualifies, that's when they remember, or a team wins, that's when they remember to celebrate them, but they forget that they went through some hurdles and some challenges. Peter, I don't know if you have unmuted. If you're able to speak to us, I would really love to hear what you have to tell us about the game and what you look forward to. Peter, please unmute.
So I'm by name Peter Shaban. I am the captain of the national team. And I started playing this sport way back, I think before, I think it was like in 2016 when I got a third-degree strain on my right leg. I was playing basketball. So I had a friend who used to play basketball and lacrosse, was called John Paul. I think Coach Oriana knows him so well. And he introduced me to Ginger Nile Zulus. So I started training with the Ginger Nile Zulus and kept on playing up to date. I've been to Israel for the World Games. And I've also been to Kenya. We played the qualifiers. And basically what I can tell you is that Uganda is not just trying to come to the World Games just to show, just to perform or play a game, but we want to bring up a show. Yes, we want to show the world that however much we are not yet to that level that the world is playing in, because we can't grade ourselves to the top 5. So if we can't, let's bring a good game. Let's bring a good fight to the stage. That's all we're doing right now. So it's a lot of hard work down here, and players are committed. Coaches are so committed. And we have a lot of help from the Uganda Lacrosse Association. So it's all within, it's just within, it's too much pressure within us. And I'm so glad to be in this conference. I'm so glad to be in, because I'm getting so very many ideas. I'm seeing this love you people have for us. And it's I think it's the best thing you can ever give us. You know, when we're here and we're just hearing people out there talking about us, it really puts us on top of, you know, trying to get better and better every single day. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Peter. I was asking earlier, why lacrosse? I mean, you could have joined any other sport and, you know, play better. Lacrosse is hardly very popular in the country. Matter of fact, on the continent. Why lacrosse? What has added on to your life since you joined lacrosse?
Well, lacrosse is, first and foremost, lacrosse is a giving game. It's a game full of giving. So I give you to give another person to give another person. That's what lacrosse is. All the equipments, starting from the equipments we get here in Uganda, they are donated. We never pay for these equipments. So I get a brand new helmet. I'm going to give out my old helmet. The one who gets my old helmet, use it out to another person. So it's a game of giving and giving. That's the first thing I loved about lacrosse. And second, it's so addictive. I do not know how, but it's so addictive. You can't just want to sit down when you hear there is a game. There is a day we can play like full whole day, and you wonder where guys have the strength to keep playing and playing and playing and playing. I do not know. It's so addictive. I don't think we have off seasons. Maybe the COVID time is where we had too much of the off season. But down here, academies are very many of late. People keep coaching themselves. Right now, we have box lacrosse now. It's at a small scale, but it's growing up so well. And people leave field lacrosse practice and go in for box lacrosse. And you're like, how do they do this? So I do not know, but it's a game full of love. To me, it was too much of love. And the way I was welcomed into the sport, it was too much of love, because I trained for 3 days, and the next day or the 4th day, I was on a pitch playing, but I didn't know even how to catch a pass. Yeah, I didn't know the basics. So that was too much love. My team showed me that, you know, I would love to spread to the team. It's exactly what Coach Pato is also doing to most of us. Oriana Patrick, he's spreading a lot of love. This guy here goes ahead and checks out what are his players up to, you know. Is he in school? If he's not in school, what is he doing? Is he hustling? How is he hustling? Is it a clean hustle? Things like that. That's so much love that keeps you wanting to remain in the sport. These are some things you will not find in other sports. Other sports, I do not know how it is, because I've only played basketball, but basketball, it's somehow, who knows you to, you know, play, you know, and how good are you? But here, everybody plays. Everybody gets a chance to play. So it's a lot of love here.
Wow. Very interesting. When you say it's a game of giving, meaning, and love, is all about giving. And that's very deep, actually, for me. I'm now taking interest in lacrosse. So I'm trying to understand more about this game and how it is played. I see that lacrosse is a 10-a-side team sport, 3 attacks, 3 middies, 3 defenders, and 1 goalkeeper. Coach Pato, I hope I'm right, played with a small solid rubber ball and a long handled stick called a cross or lacrosse stick. Now the players pass the ball to each other and score. Players use the head of the lacrosse stick to carry, pass, catch, and shoot the ball into the goal. The sport is played by both men and women, and it's both an indoor and an outdoor sport. The objective of the game is similar to many sports involving a ball, namely to shoot the ball into the opponent's goal more times than they do yours. But the most interesting bit here is that it is forgiving. You give, and you give some more. And this is why we're actually having this conversation, so that we can give and so that the team can actually give us wins out there as they represent us. I want to come back to Patrick, Coach Pato. Coach Pato, in this journey, since you joined the team as coach, what so far, you already hinted on some of the challenges you encounter. And first of all, I want you to make me sure that what I've been reading about the game is true. It is a pass here and there? You tell us. What challenges, most importantly, have you encountered since you took on the coaching beat up to this moment?
Yeah, but what I was saying, I think is, you're just spot on with that's what the game is really about, the basic understanding of the game. Maybe the only thing, the unique thing about lacrosse is the ability to play behind the goal. Maybe that is one thing that you missed, but yeah. So, there are lots of challenges, but maybe to start with, it's not a challenge, but also, one of the things we try to teach, especially for me as a coach, is life always happens. There are always challenges, but do you run away from those challenges, or do you actually stop a little bit longer and ask yourself, how do I creatively solve this problem? Do I go under it, through it, over? Like, is there a solution first, even before we look out? So an example is with the U21 team. I noticed someone mentioned the challenges of food. It wasn't a challenge for ourselves, but I remember we cooked for ourselves. Some meals we cooked for ourselves, at the tournament. But also we just decided as coaches, let's use that as a team bonding exercise, since somehow the dormitories were structured in that way, that there were small units and there were kitchens and things like that. So there was obviously that challenge, but as a coach, I really want an athlete to focus on playing, because that's what he has been preparing for, and someone else takes care of the other things. The other challenge has been equipment, Also, still like from drawing from the U21 team last year was so days before we traveled, we actually had to spray our own helmets so that they look uniform. So we had one of the players who is an artist take the helmets to his house and spray all of them black, so that we all looked uniform. But also the beauty was that did not stop the excitement. The team seemed like the most excited. If you probably end up following the team and find some videos where at the opening ceremonies, the team just started dancing and everyone came right in, So those challenges don't stop us, because guys have continued to progress and build. And like Peter said, it's a giving sport. For us, we have been very fortunate to maintain the relationship that we have had through the years, and that's how we actually get our equipment. They are fully donated, but then there's also the other obvious challenges that comes with the high taxes on that equipment, And I think that is also one thing that I think the government needs to address. If we are trying to support a sport at a third country level, like some of those taxes should be subsidized or even taken away, because that's the only way we'll make the sport more available to more people and probably get it into different students' hands and communities at the same time. Then for me as a coach right now, the challenge is in preparation. You know, some of the athletes I work with honestly walk from wherever they stay up to the field, okay, and back home. And for me to sometimes be able to understand exactly that, sometimes I walk with them home, you know, but that is the reality, okay? Is there any different way to look at it? Maybe there is, but that is a challenge. I mean, it almost looks like we are cutting down on the improvement. We're taking 2 steps ahead, then 2 steps back, or even 3. So there's that challenge. And I think things like our athletes need to be almost well facilitated, because in line with employment, some players on the team like have jobs, okay? But we all know not all employers will give you the opportunity to actually go leave work at 5, or you say have practice at 4. Not all of them will do that. You're either going to choose to keep the job, okay, or go to the field and actually lose the job. That is the other evident challenge. So even when you're trying to build a culture for the team, as far as commitment is concerned, but you know, if you want to be realistic at the same time, the guy that is on the team, you want him to keep the job because he's taking care of the family, okay? There are people depending on him, you know? So it makes it very difficult to relate with them on that level. So we try to be flexible at the same time, but I think where we should be invested in is in terms of like preparation. Like, how do we support the team that they have at a minimum everything they need to perform at a higher level, you know? The other one is, I mean, like, we talk of sports, people have to take care of their bodies. Taking care of their bodies is also strength training, but also the nutrition bit, you know? I don't know if Ryan knows what the Rolex is or Chikomando is, but I know players on the team after a hard workout go and eat Chikomando, you know? But is that like the most healthiest? It's not, you know? So I think that is just it. For me, it's preparation, because I think if we take care of preparation, and because the beauty is the players on the team, you've just had Peter speak. He's speaking from the heart, and he's representing so many players who are motivated. Okay, so for me, there's nothing more I could ask of the players right now, and I moved away from trying to test who is committed, because whether they are available or not, I actually know this person is committed. He wants to be on the team, but probably needs to take care of the family, you know. So I mean, those are the challenges right now. Also, to speak for one of the coaches I work with, is called Sam Otoa. So he's a defensive coach. So I focus on offense, the attackers, and the midfield. Coach Sam focuses on the defenders and the goalkeepers. Coach Sam, he lives between Kampala and Jinja. Okay, and we have practice 3 times a week, and he spends on a minimum 100,000 shillings a week. Okay. So that in itself is difficult, okay? But for me, again, that is someone who is passionate and wants to give in. But again, it's a question of what if they had a little bit of more support, you know, cover for all those things, you know? But also it comes down to, if everyone is effectively supported, then maybe they'll then be fully committed to the process, you know? So those are the challenges. The obvious one is the visa part, but we honestly understand visa processing is the US Embassy has its work to do. We also have our work to do as players or as an association. So I mean, we just want to try to prepare as much as we can, but also that influences our decision on selection. We are forced to select the team early, even though we would have wanted to select the team later. So those are just some of the challenges, but I mean, like, the team is really excited nonetheless, you know. But I honestly feel just a little bit of more help and support. But also, to talk of giving, so I went to I think it's the PayPal link, okay? Yes. And for the first time, I was seeing Ugandan names, people donating, Ugandans donating. For me, that was really, really exciting. You know, in the past, it's been just people who usually American people who understand the sport, But since Brian came in, like seeing Uganda, I'm like, this is really exciting. And nothing is more motivating than understanding that someone else has your back, So, but also one other opportunity I want to mention is, so in the last championship, the U21 that happened in Ireland, one of our players was selected, got a scholarship, was scouted and got a scholarship in the US, a fully paid scholarship in a university called Westcliff University, and he's currently there. So that is also one of the things. Just possibilities, and he understands it. He actually knows he's opening doors for other people, but because the sport also opened doors for him. Okay, so those are all possibilities. We have young and strong and amazing people, and that would just be. We just need a little bit of more help to just go 100.
Wow. Very interesting, Coach Pato, what you really told us. But before you go off, there's a question for you here in the chat room. Since you qualified for the World Championship, have you approached the government or the Ministry of Education and Sports on the need for more funds? What was the response?
That's a very good question. It's a question I have no answer on the call. But though it's something that I think would have an answer soon. But even through the process of the qualification, the association reached out to NCS to ask for help to support the qualifier, and I understand they are fully aware. But also for them, they're usually last minute kind of support. Because then for them also, I think visas is one of those things, So I honestly believe the association is in touch or is reaching out to them for help, and it's probably also just in waiting. But it's something I am aware they're doing.
Okay, that's good. I see hands up. I see Nate Hill. Nate Hill, can you unmute and speak to us?
How are we doing? I just wanted to kind of elaborate on a couple of things, kind of from the state side, and kind of give, a little bit of perspective. Number one, as an African-American lacrosse player, even from the beginning, the process of me getting into the sport and being able to play as one of 2 people of color on the team, or one of 3 in the state, or one of 5 in the tri-state area. So coming from that and dealing with that in America, lacrosse is a very giving game, as everyone was saying, but it also offers a lot of opportunity. When I first started, no one really wanted to give me a stick or anything like that. It's kind of fear. Hey, we're going to take over. Hey, this guy's an athlete. He's definitely going to take over. So a lot of the lacrosse community kind of operated in fear of what could possibly happen. If this guy comes in here, if this one comes in, he's going to bring the rest of them. And in the early 2000s, that was a big issue. Now we're talking about 2023, where now it's unavoidable. I've wanted a team in Uganda or somewhere else so I could be more than just one of 1,000 or one of 1,000,000. And this has always been a dream of mine. So lacrosse is a dream builder. It's a connector. It does so many other things that a lot of other sports don't do. And lacrosse, you don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the strongest. You just have to do your best to use everything that you have and keep a calm mental head so you're able to get the most out of yourself and your teammates. In basketball, just 5 people on the court. If one person scores 80, that team can win. In lacrosse, one guy can score 8 goals and the team could still lose by 5. In football, you can be a quarterback and throw for 700 yards and everything is okay whether you win or lose. And lacrosse, as a goalie, if you let in, 7 to 20 shots, you mentally don't feel well, right? But lacrosse is a sport where you have to always get back on the horse, right? And it forces you to play into so many different, components of competition that also seep into real life. Lacrosse also includes a continuance. I've played lacrosse. I've coached lacrosse. I'm continuing to coach lacrosse and to continue to influence people who look like me and people who don't, just to keep the game growing and just loving to see the impact that it has here in the States. Now, as far as it pertains to Uganda, out of the 30 teams, there's maybe 2 other teams other than Uganda that don't have this infrastructure that all these other teams have. But we're still one of the 30 teams. So if you're from Uganda and you're wondering how to support or, important things, that's an important thing to know. You're making out just as well as everyone with 10 times more the equipment, space, and infrastructure. You're making out just as well as them with less than half of it. And we're starting to get the exposure. This is one of the reasons that I wanted to help. Also, speaking to all of the team, I spoke with them last week before my aunt's funeral, and really, I didn't think I was in the mode for that. I thought I was just going to be in a nice, too emotional space, but these boys all spoke from a place where I can feel personally from my playing experience, but also personally to the goals that I've set as a coach and as a player to influence the sport and to spread it. Now we have this very, very genuine opportunity where we're able to take it from a small margin to a lot bigger margin and be able to create rippling effects. The guys that go and play have scholarship offers. Colleges will be looking, you can influence all the younger kids too, because now you're going to play college. You come back at the end of the year, and now you become a coach. So lacrosse isn't a sport where you're just one thing. If you're a basketball player, you can play basketball for 20 years. You don't have to go into coaching. You're done. Same thing with football, same thing with a lot of the other sports, and very few and far will come and help out. In lacrosse, almost as soon as you're done with your playing career or you get injured, the first thing you're going to do is coach. And you don't know if you coaching is going to make a big enough impact, but it does. I've slowly and surely have noticed that. I was in New Jersey last week, and I saw kids who I coached 7 years ago. Now, this kid does not play lacrosse anymore, but this kid came up and gave me a big hug, and he said, "Thank you, coach. I've been talking about you a lot. I have my own business, and if you did not teach me how relative lacrosse was to real life, I would not be able to be in the position I am now, to be able to own my own business, understand that I have to do the things that I have to do, and to, do it with a positive mind." So lacrosse is a conduit to your life, to everything else around you, and opening that up for Uganda, let alone the rest of the continent, really opens up avenues for everyone. Coaching opportunities. You can get everyone to coach, anyone and everyone. And I'm here to, help as a coach, as a mentor to the coaches, mentor to the players, and just a part of this whole organization. I'm just here to help in the deepest, most, parts of my body. Really want this to work. And I've been dealing with a lot of stuff, and this is still a primary thing for me, because this has always been a goal for me for 20 some odd years. I've been playing and coaching.
Wow. Thank you so much, Hale, for that. Very, very deep. And we really appreciate you joining us today. Aloysius, I see your hand up. Please unmute and speak to us.
I really have to appreciate all the speakers, all the attendants who are actually on this call for that passion. Some of us, I'm sure Brian inclusive, we never got that opportunity when we were growing up in Uganda to play lacrosse, because it wasn't there. Yeah. So actually looking at what I think Pato, the coach, and one of the players were talking about, I think for me, I believe in what we call sustainability. So here we are, we're trying to fundraise, and we will fundraise. That one I can tell you. We're going to try to do as much as we can to fundraise. But how sustainable is that going to be? If that sport is actually not even spread out in schools, because I think I had one of the speakers mentioning that. Looks like it's a sport. Of course, it's new, and maybe city sport, like guys in the city are going to be playing it. And it's going to be really hard for the government to pick interest if this sport is not spread in schools, especially government schools, all the way to village schools, because that's where we actually going to start having voices from all across, all the corners of Uganda. And then as the sport progresses on the city level, it has those branches. Also, of course, everybody will just be saying, hey, lacrosse team, lacrosse team. It's going to be easier for us who are living in the US or people who have traveled in other countries where such a sport is, and of course, support, but we may not be enough. So as everybody has been talking, for me, my mind was actually thinking of sustainability. I don't know when this competition is going to happen. I don't know how long we have until that time to have got enough money for the guides and whatever it takes for their visas to come to the US. That one, maybe somebody will let me know. But I think we have to also look for avenues. Having codes like this is good, and I mean, I've learned a lot from codes like this, but we need other fundraising activities. Probably Brian or I think the lady who spoke before have already that in mind. But for example, if you came up like with T-shirts, like Friends of Lacrosse Uganda, and then things can go maybe online, and then people buy. And then two, I don't know whether Brian and Co have already done that. I think we have what we call the Uganda North America Association, the UNA. Has it been approached? I'm sure they probably have maybe a department which supports sports in Uganda. That organization is based here. Actually, Brian used to be the former president. So, I mean, we just have to now, we're kind of like firefighting. I'm sure this competition is not going to be 2 years or next year. I think it's this year. I don't know the date. But we need to pretty much look into some of those issues I've just mentioned. And also like people like Nate, who basically also know all the other guys or associations or schools who are playing lacrosse on the bigger stages. I mean, those also need to be approached. We're firefighting. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Aloysius, for that. And maybe to clear that, the team qualified for the 2023 World Lacrosse Championship in San Diego. That is June 20th to July 1st. So we need the money ASAP. We need all that we need for that championship before June. Thank you indeed. Nate, here I see your hand up. Did you miss something? Please go on.
I wanted to speak, to the concerns of the last person who spoke. Alois, did I say that correctly?
No, Aloysius. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Just want to get it right. This opportunity in June is for the U21 team. As far as getting programs, built in the schools and everything, even in America, it is one of the toughest things to do. Even for, schools and places that do have the infrastructure. So it's really, sustainability really comes down to time frame, because sustainability is how long we can keep this for, as steady as possible for how long, right? And lacrosse just brings this slow but steady process. You'll be knocked down here, but you'll be picked up here. You'll be knocked down here, but you'll be picked up here. What I also aim to do outside of this national team and me coming to Uganda and building infrastructure and getting other coaches to come in here is to teach, and to show how to make these things possible with whatever funds or nothing, or creating opportunities where, depending on the kids, some of the kids will have stateside opportunities, and it's one by one, it's case by case basis. And we have to do it that way because we're not going to be able to get everyone. And if we think of everyone first, we're going to overwhelm ourselves. So we kind of have to, take it as a gradual process as far as getting all of these other things set up. But lacrosse, if we think about how it's grown from the 90s to now, we have professional leagues now. We have 15% of the professional league, which is African American or of color. And when I was in high school in 2004, there was no professional league. And there were six guys total who were of color. And I was one of those guys. So it's a tough thing, but lacrosse is a long-term gradual process. And once you set up one, all the other things kind of connect to each other. So we kind of got to create that conduit. We create the sustainability. Lacrosse, the game itself, does not.
Right.
It's people who are involved in how you make that involvement work, how you set it up, and where you put it that, really makes that impact.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you very much, Nate. I see Brian Kwesiga, your hand is up. Please speak, unmute and speak.
I just wanted to speak really quickly too and recognize, this is obviously something, the men are in the position of going to the World Championships because the game is established, even though it's not something that's super common and known to the people within Uganda. Like clearly since 2009, they have made great strides. So it is happening. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to grow and get better or stronger, I should say. But it's important to recognize, like, we're all sitting on this call today because it does exist in Uganda. Because there is they were talking about before, like there's the box lacrosse, like it is happening. So we should celebrate the work that they've been doing and the fact that it is they're on the world stage or about to be on the world stage because it's there and it's happening. And the championship does happen in June, but I just want to again really lean into the idea, like we can't wait to fundraise until June. The urgency is now. And as Coach Pato was saying, he would love if we had a longer kind of run on this, but the reality is the visa process is a long process and we need, again, to show the funds. So if we don't all come together and rise up and put the funds in the bank, their work on the field will not be reflected in San Diego. So June is when the games are happening. Now is when we need to have the funds. And even regardless of the visas, Miriam was speaking to, like, the idea of it costs money to practice. It costs money to get on the field. Coach Pato really believes in bringing the men together in like camps where basically for like a week long, there's like a camp that they all do together. They're eating, practicing, sleeping. It's around the clock, really, really drawing together the culture of the team. That costs money. That's money that has to be spent now, not in June. So I think it's just really important, other than and the visas, to understand the process costs money and great sacrifice to every player that's involved. And the more we can all support that in a now moment, nobody likes to walk around with financial stress on their shoulders, right? It doesn't help us perform at our best. And so if we can come together sooner than later, those guys can go out there, work hard, have fun, and show up to represent Uganda on the world stage with ease. So
absolutely. Thank you very much, Melanie. Yes, before I can let Coach Pato come in, I think we need to hear from Brian. Brian, how far have you gone with this fundraiser? What does it take? How can one participate? And what are you choosing to address with this fundraiser? Is it just is it general for all the needs of the team, or is it also for answering the question of sustainability?
I sent Miriam kind of a chart of a breakdown of the budget for what the fundraiser will accomplish. If
but I would rather you take us through with our viewers need to know and hear from you.
Sure. So I wanted her to put it on the screen so I can speak when people are seeing the breakdown of the amount on the screen. So in terms of how far we've gone the fundraiser, what I keep telling people is this: when we are starting out, I said, I don't know anyone who can give us 150,000. I certainly don't have 150,000 myself, not even half or a quarter of that to give the lacrosse team. But I said, I think if we get together, we can mobilize we can get 1,500 Ugandans. In a convention, usually attracts maybe almost 2,000 people per year. By that time, someone who have paid registration of what, I don't know, 200 something, depending on when they register, would have bought a flight ticket of $400, depending on where they're flying from. They would have stayed in a hotel room that costs $170 per year, per day, before taxes and service fees. So the capacity, in my opinion, I think the capacity in our community, without even relying on the government, obviously those who are contacting the government should go ahead and do that, without even relying on corporate sponsors. Certainly those who have connections, the corporate sponsors should be free to share them with us. But without even us relying on all that, within ourselves as a people, we have that capacity. So if we can just get 1,500 Ugandans, or friends of Uganda, or Africans, or friends of Africa, it will be the only African team. So people should not feel that they are limited to contacting only Ugandans. And it shouldn't be only people in the diaspora, and it shouldn't be only people in the US, whether the person lives in Australia or Sweden or the UK, whether they're Nigerian or Ghanaian, it's the only African team. So I think we have an opportunity to support an African team. And if we can get just 1,500 Ugandans, and each one contributes just $100, we'll raise the $150,000. So it's absolutely doable, in my opinion. And you asked me where to start. I think we'll start by, we have about 15 people on this call. That each of us commit to contacting 10 other people. I'm sure not all of them will sponsor, but maybe 5 or 10 will sponsor. So if everyone, all 15 people on this call commit to contacting 10 more people in their networks, their father, their mother, their sister, their brothers, people they went to high school with, people you went to college with, people whom you know support sports, or people whom you think are inclined to support these kind of initiatives. So I think the work begins with us as individuals. If I think we all contact 5, 10 people, and some of them contribute, and then that kind of work. And if contact someone and they said, oh, they can't, they're not able to at this moment, that's okay. Just say, okay, can you at least share the link with your networks? So that person may not have been able to contribute, but they can share the link with someone who contributes $1,000. So the fact that someone cannot contribute is not reason enough for you not ask some more or not to contact them. And I want to emphasize the point that Miriam talked about. I know my people. I know my Ugandans. I love them very much, but they are very last minute people. Someone would buy an air ticket. They would book a hotel room. No, actually, they would buy an air ticket on the day of. Someone lands and they have no hotel room, and they have not registered for the convention, and they're looking for the president on where they're gonna spend the night. So what she emphasized that, yes, I know we will support the cause, but you see, by the time you come and support the cause in June, in May, we are fighting against time. So we need the support now. And even if you want support and send us $200 or $100, and you cannot do it now, and you can send us 25 right now, go ahead and send us 25 now. Then in a week or two, add the other 25. We are better off getting the 25 now than waiting for the 100 in June. So really, every little counts. That's what I'm saying. I was targeting just 1,500 Ugandans. If we can get more, that means everyone can contribute even less. So let us spread the burden. So for this particular fundraiser, it's just targeting what's showing on the screen now, which is basically the travel, the visas, the airfare, the accommodation, because people have to have somewhere to stay. You're not going to make them stay far away from where the tournament is taking place. So it has to be close by. And of course, hotels which are close by a stadium or a tournament, they're going to be costing a little bit more than maybe some place that's 1 hour away. In terms of equipment that they will need, then the training, the coaching, like Miriam was saying, people have to eat. So all that costs, I think when you break down, that's the kind of the breakdown on what's on the group. In terms of sustainability, I think that's a conversation we all need to have as a people. I think like Coach Patrick was saying, the previous fundraisers they have had, whether when they were coming to Denver in 2014 or in 2018 in Israel or in Ireland, let's say for the under 21 team, it has always been foreign names contributing to the cause. And obviously that's not sustainable because you can't keep going to the same people asking for money for the same thing each year. It gets draining. So I think we need to, for this particular campaign and fundraiser, we are focusing on getting the team to San Diego. I think many of you will have the opportunity to interact with the team when they're in San Diego, especially for those who are near California. And for those who can afford flying, please, you are very much welcome to come and support the team. But it's a conversation I think that needs to be had with the lacrosse team. With all of us, we are, I think, open to suggestions. And like I was saying, like the more you support these kind of things, I think the more it gives back to you. I think I was reading in the news the other day, Ugandan soccer player Ibrahim Sakad, I think, is now the head coach of the New York Bulls. Now, someone like that is in a position to support even more younger talents that are coming after him. But obviously, lacrosse is a young sport, so we don't have that many tenured lacrosse players of Ugandan origin. But we have some in the diaspora, like Aloysius was saying, the daughter plays lacrosse. When we started this fundraiser, a couple of people have reached out to me, like, oh, my son actually played lacrosse in college. Are they eligible for the team? That kind of stuff. So I think we can grow the movement. Let's first fix what we are trying to achieve right now, which is raising the money. And then I think after that stage, we can sit down and strategize on how do we make this sustainable long term. But certainly we are welcome and open to suggestions on how you guys think that that can be done.
Wow. Wow, fantastic. Thank you very much, Brian, for the work you're doing. Coach Pato, I see your hand up. Please, if you have any question or comment, either use the chat room or you can raise your hand and we'll give you, minutes to talk to us. Coach Pato, please.
Thank you. I almost wanted to say something, but I think Brian has ended up saying most of them. But I just wanted to throw in some confidence to Aloysius's question. The players on the team, maybe more than half of them are actually coaches and currently coaching different youth programs. And maybe a quarter of those have personally started those academies themselves. So currently we have lacrosse in Gulu. We have lacrosse in West Nile, in Arua and Adjumani and Moyo. We have lacrosse in Bukedia. We have lacrosse in Tororo and Busia. Okay, so for me that is progress, and also to have it being done by players currently.
Yeah, if he's in Uganda, definitely that is network issues. But I'm glad we are having this conversation. And Miriam, I want to come back to you. What do you think we ought to do as a country? First of all, it's not just lacrosse that is suffering. It is almost all the sports in the country. And most sporting federations have been making noise and trying to survive on their own. It's such a huge challenge. But what do you think we ought to do? Should we, and this is going to address the issues of sustainability that Aloysius, raised, which was very good for him to, remind us of the need for sustainability. I mean, we raise funds today, okay, and we meet the target. Then what tomorrow? What happens tomorrow? They go play, qualify, or even win, and then what? Do we always have to come back and, ask for somebody to help or someone to reach out? Speak to the issues of sustainability, Miriam.
Lynn, thank you for that. But maybe to really citizenship, the role of a citizen is to bring accountability. Part of it is to hold your government accountable to the issues that really concern you as a country. So in Uganda, you all know, Lynn, we have this kind of firefighting tendency. One person is sick, we hold the car wash, the hospital is blown by the wind, the church donates blankets. I mean, but then we have a government and we pay taxes. And we are not a rich country. Yes, we understand, but even right now, the government is kind of an austerity kind of situation. But we know so well how much we can afford and what we cannot afford. We know that each year we lose so many trillion shillings in corruption. We know we are spending so much in politics, which is good, but it's not developmental at all. We are investing less and less in economic development, in social development, in developing the country, in developing citizens. The reason I was telling earlier I highlighted that the Ugandan economy, the Uganda country is a young nation right now. We have, the mean age is 15 years. So that means the bulk of Ugandan country population is the young age, is the youth, the school going age, and all those people. If you share, you want to share the resources, even if we develop like at a supersonic speed, the national resources won't cater for that fast growing population. So as a country, one of the things we should look into is how to empower the people, so that the people can sustain themselves even out of the national resource envelope. How can we build the human skills to make sure that human resource is part of our national resource? Like we have oil, like we have coffee, we are able, for instance, to export skilled Ugandans like Brian to US, and they earn their sustenance, but they equally bring so much to the country to develop the economy. That's how Asian tigers develop. Today, if you want to construct anything, the engineers are going to be coming from Asia. They are going to be Chinese, they are going to be Indians or whatever. But all these countries had higher populations and less resources. So what they did is build the population, build the people, empower them with skills, so that these people could be able to become a national resource in their own. But what are we doing in Uganda? Even the schools, the UPE schools are not capacitated enough to even train someone the basic literacy skills. So what would it cost really to take a certain game like this? For instance, Nethiel, I liked so much your presentation. Nethiel was giving an example how African Americans struggle to fit in American society. We know so much of that because of racism. But lacrosse and other sports are one of these games that bring the youth together, that help keep the young people focused, keep them out of crimes, give them some skills which can enable them to get employed. I mean, like if you play in a national team, that's a career. Or you get scholarships and all that stuff, and get empowered, like skills to build yourself. And he was giving an example of a young man who said, you taught me that the skills I pick from the game, I can use them in my normal life, and how to empower myself as a person. So those are the things we need. Today, what are we giving the young Ugandans to build themselves? In the past, we used to have community structures. We used to have a social fabric where you have the elders, you have the clan leaders, you have the grandmothers talking to the young people. But today that fabric is not there. We are all struggling for sustainability. But what are we giving to the young people today? What are you giving to a Ugandan who is 12 years old? What are you giving a Ugandan who is going to drop out of PRO? Because the percentage drop out of PRO is 75%. So you can imagine 75% of Ugandans don't even go to secondary school. But what life skills are you giving them? And such a games, those are the smaller things you can throw at young people, and they help them to develop themselves. In the return, they are helping the country. Today we are here, Elvis was saying, I mean, this is firefighting. Is it sustainable? Are we going to see lacrosse tomorrow? Today we can fundraise for the visas and so what? But what about when these players go back to Uganda? Do they have a stadium to play in? Do they have a team doctor? Do they have food? Do they have transport? The coach was telling us that these people walk back and forth back home. How do you manage that? Yet these people are not even given allowances enough, I'm sure of that, enough to sustain them, so they have to hold a job like any one of us, and they have to train maybe over the weekend or the free days they don't. I mean, how is that sustainable? Yet wow. we have a government. Brian, we can't keep on lamenting. I hate lamentations. We can't keep on lamenting. We have to do something. In this show, we see the usual things we normally talk about. We see a lot of young Ugandan graduates being shipped to the Middle East, where it is purely slavery. And we know those kids go there, suffer, but we don't have a choice. And then you hear the country saying remittances from the Middle East are this much, and they're supporting the budget. Tomorrow, all you see is a minister even stealing iron sheets from starving people in Karamoja. I mean, I don't know, Lynn. What are we supposed to do as Ugandans?
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear, very much. And I think we need to have also a conversation on our education system and thereabout. But I thank you very much. I see Brian. Brian, your hand is up. Please unmute and speak to us. Anybody with a question or comment, you could also raise your hand as we try to maybe come to a conclusion.
Sure. No. Thank you. So what I wanted to say is basically kind of try to give like a summary of the takeaways from here. Me, the way I look at it, and I do hear Miriam's point of view and everything she's saying. The way I tend to approach my life, or the way I tend to look at life is, okay, with everything that's going on, what can we do? What can I do as an individual to change this particular situation, however small it is, okay? As opposed to always pointing out what may be wrong, what could be done. And to me, the way I look at it is, okay, for example, Alosha says she has a daughter who played lacrosse. Is it possible for Alosha to follow up with the daughter, and maybe the lacrosse coach and that staff, and see if they are interested, or if they can find someone in their network who's interested in supporting a team from Uganda by however little much? Can they share? Is the coach and the lacrosse team at that school willing to share that this information with their lacrosse network at that school? Okay, I think that is my takeaway on this kind of things. As individuals in our own individual capacity, what can we do about a situation? Okay, who can I share this with? Miriam used to be at Syracuse University. Do they have a lacrosse team? Can I contact the lacrosse team? Are they, since I was a very brilliant Ugandan student there, maybe they are willing to support this Ugandan team, or if they are not willing to, at least maybe they are willing to share the word among their donor network and their presence. So I think that's how we broaden the message. That's how we do something about the situation. And sometimes people don't see the value of something until they see some tangible benefits. Like maybe when they see someone get a scholarship through lacrosse, like, oh, so this thing actually has benefits. So then maybe people are more willing to act. So sometimes in order to change things, you don't have so much fight the existing order, more like you have to create a new model of how things can be. So if we do what we have to do, we raise this money, we take the team to San Diego, they're able to be successful. That can be a model of how maybe other teams can perform. And maybe then the Uganda government can see that and maybe be more inclined to support in the future, because now they see value. So me, I would rather focus on what should we do? What can I do to change a little bit, whether it's contributing $25 or give someone who can contribute $25, or I know this person who played lacrosse and they're passionate about it. Maybe they have old equipment that they no longer use and they donate it to Uganda. That kind of stuff. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Brian. I see Brenda Dimas. Your hand is up. Please unmute and speak to us.
Hi, thank you guys. So this is like really wonderful to hear, and everybody's submissions. I decided to put my hand up because of what Brian was just talking about. Like, let's look at the solutions rather than lamenting, like Madame Mariam was just saying. But I think a few things here. We have to agree that our donations are not going to sustain the team. And I think that's very clear, you know, like the Ugandan thing of like when a person is sick is when you're going to ask for this and that. When a person dies, you're looking for mabogo, all those things. So I think that's a culture that we've had, and it's very archaic. We need to find different ways of doing these things. So one thing is, as a team, as lacrosse team, I think I would challenge them. You guys need to also work hard. You need to find a committee, first of all. On your committee, involve people like Brian, for example. He's been very helping. So look outside your usual box. Look outside your usual people, Uganda, best in Uganda kind of thing. I'm not saying you try to go all the way abroad, but at least if you can, if you have good associates, like people who are abroad, please put them on your committee. These are people who are well-traveled, who are well-connected, and they can definitely bring more value to your team where you need them. But not wait until you're looking for support that you're going to start approaching people in the diaspora or this and that, or GoFundMe or whatever it is. So look for people like, look out for people who can add value and add them to your committees. 2, I wrote down, teams need to form organizations as well. You guys, like recently I was in Uganda and I was talking with the farmers in my village, and they were complaining about, how their milk and this, it's like low value for their milk. And yet if you leave, let's say in Mbarara, you come to Kampala, the milk is at like 7,000. I'm just giving a random number. But back on the source, they're being paid like $500 shillings for the money. So you guys need to find, I don't know if you have cooperatives or whatever that can actually fight on your behalf, on behalf of the teams. You have bodies like FIFA or whatever. I don't know if lacrosse falls under that, but you can definitely make people be accountable. There are funds that are being passed out to different organizations, to different sports, but where do they go? We know the corrupt part of it is huge, but you need to make more noise. You need to approach newspapers. You need to have a person who is actually fighting the fight in there so that you keep in their face. But otherwise, as it is in Uganda, everybody fights for their own pockets. But if you have a corporation, if you have an agent of some sort, I think this might help get your causes reach out to a more audience, and maybe to get like funds from, let's say, the Ministry of Education and Sports. I don't know, something. But we cannot just keep looking at seeing that, oh yeah, the government is failing the sports industry. I think we need to find different ways how we can actually be able to get these funds from the government, or even us being creative. Somebody mentioned doing car washes and things like that, but you can also like start approaching schools, like making this sport be known. If you sit down, your marketing levels are being against your efforts. So start to move. How else can you do it? Like maybe get t-shirts that you can sell. Even if it's 1,000, 2,000, but it has lacrosse on the t-shirt. You're making your brand be seen. People will start getting interested in you. Investors will starting to want to associate with the team. So let's look at different ways. I guess this is a good foundation. This is a good start, and we can keep throwing in ideas. I know Brian, so at least we can talk about these things on an individual level. If there are any ideas, we can always throw them into the lacrosse team, but not just lacrosse, but in all sports, because this is a general problem, not only lacrosse for Uganda. Yeah, I think that's it. Sorry.
Right. Thank you so much, Brenda, for that. I see Nate here again. You're up. Your hand is up. Please go on.
I just generally want to say, like, everything Brenda was saying was like kind of spot on to where we've, things we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. How do we, do things? We're doing them now instead of sitting down, not having calls, not having conversations about it, not trying to move it forward. That will put us kind of behind. But, conversations like this is a real spark to what else we can do. But Brenda's right. We have to reach outside of our normal network. But that really comes down to media attention. So if there's a way for me to get this call, for me to be able to send it out to other media outlets so that, different types of people can, answer the call to help, right, in a more realistic way, because, Lacrosse Network is only but so small. So being able to branch it outside of lacrosse, for people to be able to look at it not only as Uganda and not only as lacrosse as something new, which, you know, right now is probably the time, like, these are the things that, you know, we should do. Also, I'm working on getting, you know, guys who are going to be able to come over to Uganda with me, you know, regularly, to make sure that we're able to build these programs. And we'll be there, you know, until this guy, you know, understands what to do and control this group of guys and this. So it just really, you know, comes down to, like what Brenda's saying, like who's involved and how you get them involved, and, you know, creating the network. I think the network has grown in the last 2 weeks since we started. You know, calls were just me, Pato, Brian, and Ryan and Cassius. But you know, being able to speak to more people in Uganda is very helpful, because now, you know, on the state side, I'm able to see the other issues that you're dealing with and how passionate everyone is for it. And it makes me want to go, you know, even harder to make sure that this happens, because I'm clearly not just doing it for the kids on the team. I'm clearly doing it for other people who are involved in Uganda and more than just the sport, and want to make sure that there's this continuity that allows everything to grow. So that's how we do it. We just kind of tap outside of our normal network. I'm working on doing that now. I won't necessarily discuss, you know, names or people, but I'm putting my nose to the ground and I'm getting to it. But we all just have to find at least one person outside of our network and be able to send this information through and keep fighting the good fight. As long as you show everyone that you're not willing to give up or waver in your efforts to make anything happen, regardless of time frame or what you have, you know, you're showing that you're willing to do whatever. And, you know, that's going to mean more to them than any other opportunity that could be given to them. The support is always probably the most important, and to get it from, you know, the infrastructure where you're from is super important, and that's very comforting. So along with fighting the good fight, you know, just try to make everyone comfortable and keep everyone positive.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nate. That's very, very humbling. Yes, Peter, I was actually coming to you. I see your hand up. I need you to give us, you know, as we try to wind up, I see we have a few minutes. What do you think Ugandans need to know about lacrosse, and how can they be helpful as you head to San Diego?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, Peter, I'm saying speak to our Ugandans if they're to help in the preparations for San Diego. And most importantly, you did say that the game is about giving. Appeal to them, to our people, in terms of giving.
Well, about the giving part is, we have players here, like, let me step back to what Coach Pato was trying to say. We have players on the who are on the national team, and half of them have academies. Yeah. So with their less experience as coaches, because most of us are not qualified coaches, and most of us are not, actually, let me say, we are not qualified coaches or qualified referees, but we have academies down there. So the little we have is the little we teach these kids. And Coach Pato was trying to talk about lacrosse being spread around Uganda. Yes, that's really true. And these academies are held by young players who are younger than even 15. Let me say 20 years old. But what happens here is that we are not going to wait for the government to, you know, come in and help us, you know, because if we wait, very many opportunities are going to be killed. This game might even be shut down because we are waiting for the government. So basically what we are doing right now as a team, we keep reminding ourselves that we are going to San Diego, not for ourselves. We are going to show the world who we are, but we are doing this for the kids, because we might not get the best experience because we're not sure if the government is going to give us help. Yeah. And we are not sure if the funds will also be enough. We might end up cooking for ourselves. We might end up, you know, anything might happen, but we are not doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for the young generation, because if we keep going for the World Games and we keep showing the world that we are getting up, the government is also going to wake up, and we do not know, maybe in the next 4 years, the next World Cup, the government might come in and give us full facilitations and everything, you know. So right now, we are doing it for the kids. So basically, you'll find out that even the coaches who are out there in the academies, all of them are young, but they are doing it for the young kids. And that's just the beauty about Uganda. So I do not know if I've got to answer your question so well, but
well, thank you very much, Peter, for that. I'm sure the young, lacrosse teams, or the ones that are interested in the game, once they see your success or how you've been doing it, I'm sure they must be impressed. Ryan and Melanie, please, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I apologize, I stepped out, so maybe this has been said, but it probably can't be said enough. One beautiful thing we have right now in the world is social media. And I am very proud of how the team, one player in particular, is running the Instagram page. It's been really fun to learn about the team as they go. People can follow the Uganda lacrosse team on Instagram and just really feel part of that journey. And also, as Brian was sort of suggesting, it's a great place, even if someone, maybe they're going to follow the Instagram, but they don't have the money to donate, well, they can share it. So Instagram is a very powerful tool. We also are using Facebook, but social media is a very powerful tool to help spread it. And also just really feel part of the journey. Again, they're doing a great job interviewing players and showing practice and showing their commitment. Again, what they're doing 3 days a week, hours. These aren't 1 hour practices. They're several hour practices that they're going to 3 days a week. And it's a really cool way to experience it with them and then share the message out there.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much, Melanie, for that. I see another hand up. Let me see, who is this? Okay. I was seeing another hand up. What happened? All right, no problem about that. Coach Pato, we are winding up a minute onto what's happening, and maybe reminding our viewers what we need to do and how we can be part. And then I'll conclude with Brian.
Thank you, Lynn. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on the call. Thank you to Brian for making the connections. He's been, sometimes I wonder whether he sleeps. I'm seeing messages 24 hours, so it's been amazing, but also for me, it's a highlight of what we can do for our own people, and for me, one of my motivations to coach is just using sport as a tool, to create a positive impact. So for us, it's not really, and Coach Net I think also mentioned it. It's not really about winning. Okay, even though we want to win, I think it's the reason most Ugandans get mad when our teams lose, and I think that's normal. But then if you know the effort that goes into it, you start to hear stories of transformation. So for me, I just want to ask whoever is out there to come in and support the team in whatever way that you can, whatever best way that you can. We've already, I think, talked about reaching out to the networks and just trusting that it will happen, because I honestly believe because 2014 and 2018 was successful, it's probably the reason we are where we are. Okay, it's not a mistake. So we might not be growing at the rate we want it to grow. But I think sometimes it's just wisdom to look back and just realize you're actually making progress in the right direction. And it's something that we really talk to our athletes really about. So for me, without a doubt, deep down in me is, first of all, deep down, I want to play. Okay, I honestly, not to brag or anything else, but I honestly think I'm in the best possible shape, and I still train so that I can teach others. But because I realize there is need for a coach. Okay, so for me, it's one of those sacrifices I took to help coach, because there are not so many local coaches available, So I just call upon everyone to support. The challenges will always be there, but I like Coach Net always has a phrase. He says, it's a question, why not? So for me, it's also, that's what I'm leaving to to everyone on the call, why not? It's an opportunity to change your life, an opportunity to transform communities, because until you get to hear these stories of the players, the individual players, then you'll actually know sport is just a tool, you know? So I'm more than grateful to be on this call, to just have an opportunity to talk and share the beauty of the game.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Coach Pato. Miriam, I think you'll be our last. You will talk to us briefly. But let me hear from Brian. Brian, as we conclude, what is your appeal and what do we take from this conversation?
Certainly, thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Miriam, for inviting us. Thank you for reaching out for us to be here on this call. I think it was helpful, and you were flexible with the time, because I think you wanted it earlier, but I think people are not available, so we appreciate that very much. And I thank all the people who have shown up. I see many of the people who donated are on the call, so I can see you want to follow where your money is going. So I appreciate that very much, and we hope that you are now converted believers in lacrosse. So you are new missionaries, and you're going to go and evangelize the gospel of lacrosse to your family and your friends. What I would really emphasize is that I very much believe in individual effort. And like Coach Pato said, sports is just a means. It's not the end. When I was approached to support this effort, I'm like, I don't know anything about lacrosse, let alone sports for that matter. But I saw there was Uganda involved, so to me that was good enough. And for many of the kids, they may have gotten into lacrosse and enjoy the game, but I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to create a community for them. It's an opportunity to create new people you would otherwise never meet. It's an opportunity for college scholarships down the road. So again, to take what Coach Pato said, sports is just a means. And I think we also have an opportunity here to use lacrosse, to use sports to connect with each other, to build a new community, to reshape the conversations about Africa. And it's not just about teams that failed to come or failed to get visas or failed to raise money, but we can change that narrative. We can change the narrative to Ugandans came together and fundraised and raised money for the lacrosse team. I like that narrative better. So I encourage each of you to donate however little you can. I encourage you to, again, spread this within your family members. You can say, always start with family, because I don't think you're going to convince a stranger if you can't even convince your own family members. So family members, friends, people you went to high school with, people you went to college with, people you work with, people whom you know are involved in sports, fellow Africans. Again, it's the only African team that's going to be representing the continent of 1 billion people. I'm convinced that out of 1 billion people, we can get 1,500 people to contribute $100 each. That I'm convinced of. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. I hope really that with this, they'll be able to make a difference. All right, Miriam, as we conclude, please give us a concluding remark and then we will call it a day.
I want, first of all, to thank everyone who has stand up for this call. The players, I know it was not easy because they had a training, and as Brian said, we had a lot of adjustments on that time and all that. Plus, Lynn, our moderator, I'm not sure, you, like most of us, you don't even know how lacrosse is played, and you had to check on YouTube, see how does this game.
Of course.
But now you are a comfort, and welcome to the club.
Yes.
Then I want to echo what Miss Brenda said. We cannot do this enough. I mean, we can't do this alone. We need to build a team around us, a community, to reach out. First of all, spread the word, but most importantly, to look for means of how to sustain the game. If we all love the game, we really wish it to see it grow, we have to put in some effort, to whether small, like Brian said, you start with your family. But most importantly, we really, I cannot stop mentioning this, the government, today, when these players, Shaban and Pato and colleagues who have really sacrificed enough, come up and win and raise the Uganda flags. I mean, all of us, we're gonna cheer, hi, Uganda, oh yeah, but how much have they sacrificed and what can we do to make things better? If we really want to our country to shine, if we want our young people to grow up and develop skills, if we want our teams to win, like the coach said that Ugandans always cheer when you win, we need to put our actions where our words are. We need to invest in our interests. And this doesn't stop us. I had earlier said that as citizens, it's our duty to hold our government accountable. I cannot overemphasize that, and I cannot ignore that. There are things which are really this big. If you look at Brian's GoFundMe link he's sharing, he has a small fraction, almost less than 10% of the funds that are required. We cannot do this alone. And like Brenda said, we need to reach out to people. We don't have the time. Can someone talk to the media? Can we talk to the corporates? Can we talk to the MPs? Can you knock on the Speaker of Parliament and say, hey, every MP has a few minutes every day, every time the Parliament is in session, to raise issues of urgent concern about the country. Can you contact one MP? Mr. Coach, can you contact one MP on Monday to go on the floor and raise a statement about the lacrosse team and their participation in the World Championship and how they are underfunded? That's how things are done. And immediately you put that on the floor, everybody's gonna catch up. One previous speaker said we have an opportunity of the social media, but we also know institutions work in a chain, in a kind of a bureaucratic chain. So go where the people are, talk to them, and see if they cannot act. If they don't act, then we can also push them and hold them accountable. Tomorrow they won't come to us and say they are building sports, so they want votes if they can't do what we want them to do. And next time we vote in the people who can work for us. So it's the duty of all of us. We see Brian working overtime. I don't know how he manages this really, and we also want to support him any way we want, but we don't have the capacity to do that. What we have in abundance though is our voices. Let's reach out as far as we can to support the team. They are doing the hard work, the training and the thinking about the game, and they're gonna go there and win for us. Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna win, but what can we do? Let's support them. Let's do the best we can. And I would like to conclude by thanking all of you, especially the volunteers. I see when I'm here as a Ugandan, I feel I'm doing something for Uganda. But when I see 9 Ugandans coming up to do something for us, we really appreciate and thank you so much on behalf of my fellow Ugandans.
Absolutely fantastic. Yes, indeed. We are very honored and we're very glad that we're able to rally different people and different, interest groups to come and be part of us. We really appreciate and we hope that our efforts will not go to waste. And for that matter, we will be sharing this link because it has been recorded. We'll share this on YouTube. Subscribe to Civic Space TV on YouTube. That's where the link is going to be uploaded. And so you will subscribe and share with more other people so that they can really reach out and be of help to us. It was an honor hosting you, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very honored to have you. I am so interested in the game, because who doesn't want to be given? It's a game of giving, guys. I can't wait. In fact, Coach Pato, I'm going to get your number. I think we need to have more engagements on how we can pull crowds and how we can get this funding worked upon. Really, really much appreciated. And I wish you all the very best. I'm sure our team will win. I'm very sure of that. I wish you all the best. I see, is that a hand clap? Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I thought it was a hand up. It's a hand clap. Thank you indeed. I wish you the very best to you. And Brian, well done. Well done.